Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Tim Walcott. I'm here joined by Tyler Paterson, as always. This is episode 54, and I guess that brings us to just over a year of one episode a week, just over. I don't know if we mentioned that at episode 52. But yeah, we're here joined by Tyler Ouwendyk. He's been on the show before. The last time you were here would have been October, so I think that was like episode 24 or something. Yeah, and actually, things have changed, not just globally, but locally. We were privy to some information at the time, which I don't believe we'd spoken on during that prior episode, but things have changed for you. You have taken over a small gym franchise in Hamilton, Ontario. And I think a lot of our questions today and discussions are going to be entrepreneurial in nature, and I think they were last time, but just void of that recent change. So I think you probably have some new perspectives and opinions to kind of bring to the table, and how you guys specifically have adapted to this COVID pandemic. So welcome to the show. Back to the show. If you want to kind of give people a little bit of a re-intro of who you are, what you do, and also about Momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks again for having me. I loved being on last time, so I'm excited for round 2. And I can't believe it's been a year already. Like, I feel like crazy. You guys just launched this, but you guys have been so consistent pumping them out. So congrats on that.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, last time I was on was in October. I unofficially took over at that time, but officially my first day of official ownership was December 1st. And it's been real fun. I've been with Momentum though for 6 years, and I've just grown within the company, especially as the company's grown. And then we jump into March, and we got a government mandated shutdown. So nothing says welcome to owning your business like like a pandemic. But yeah, I don't know. It's been fun. I think the part of what we've always done at Momentum is just we're always client centered and always thinking about the client. We're trying to make fitness fun, non-intimidating, and accessible to all fitness levels, ages, abilities, and things like that. So throughout this whole quarantine, we've still tried to do everything focusing on that. So right now we're offering virtual exercise classes, which have been a real success so far. And because we're a smaller gym, we've actually never been able to offer gym classes before. So it's been kind of neat. Now we have yoga, Pilates, we have HIIT cardio, there's full body workouts, there's some with that use small equipment, things like that. But all the workouts are designed for all fitness levels, and some instructors are harder than others. But it's been a really fun way to keep people moving and stay connected with them. We've done a few initiatives within the exercise classes. So for instance, bingo cards, where people have a week to do as many classes as they can for a chance to win virtual personal training sessions. So we're just trying to keep people excited, keep them moving. I know it's a really stressful time for a lot of people, so we're just trying to create some normalcy and just keep people moving. So the virtual exercise classes have been a big hit, and then we have virtual personal training as well. And that's been a lot of fun. I think at first, the first 2 weeks, we had clients with more reservations about starting with the virtual personal training, because the initial thought is that the value won't be the same. And it is definitely different. And there's pros and cons to both, but we can still prescribe a workout. We can still modify the workout as you go. We can still check in, check your form, or modify things. I think the big thing too is a lot of times when we're training clients, not only are we putting them through a workout, but we're also providing them that emotional support. Mm-hmm. And especially in this high stress time, I think that's been really useful for a lot of our clients. So they've really enjoyed it. It just took 2 weeks to kind of get them going with the virtual personal training. Mm-hmm. I think the only difference would be with home programming. Obviously you have to get more creative, and there's less access to equipment and weights and stuff like that. That's true. Both those virtual avenues that we're doing have been a success. So we've been happy with that. And we're going to actually keep those going even once we get the green light to reopen, especially the virtual personal training, because there's a lot of clients that are really loving it. Now they don't have travel time to the gym and commuting time and stuff like that. So we'll keep that going because we want to keep the gym numbers down when we reopen. We're thinking we're going to cap it at 5 people in the gym at a time. So if you have a personal trainer and a client in, that takes up 2 spots right there, right? So we'll try to do virtual personal training as much as we can, and book people off peak hours if we can as well, because we always know mornings and evenings will be the busiest time.
I was going to ask you if that's what I was going to ask you actually, if you were going to continue these services after the restriction opens back up.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool, seeing like how well some of these services work virtually, and then seeing that there's still a need there.
Exactly.
I guess with like the slow rollout, that need is still there anyway, even if it's it's molding over time.
Exactly. And with us like not being able to offer virtual or exercise classes in the past, like so many times when we get people coming through our doors for a tour, they're like, oh, do you guys have yoga? Do you have Pilates or like that? And now we can say, yeah, we do have them. So we're doing it all through a private Facebook group right now. Members access all the workouts for free. That's their incentive to try to keep membership active through this time.
Sure.
And then any non-members are paying $29 a month. So it's just a cheap amount, but they get unlimited classes with it. And what's cool about virtual too, I think, Tim, we chatted about this quickly previously, but we have someone from Calgary doing them. We have someone from Montreal. So it's kind of cool. Like you can still get people moving outside of the gym walls and outside of our province even.
Yeah.
So I think that that's been pretty neat.
That is really cool. I think this is a good, trying to find like the bright side of the situations, that I think the world is going to change in that way. Like people are going to find that it's unnecessary for so many people to go to work, for example. Like a lot of people can work from home, and businesses are finding that now, which is good because less traffic, maybe less like pollution, all the little stuff like that, that if you're an earth person, you live here, so you probably should be, but you're happy that there's not as much pollution and all that sort of stuff. But it's cool that you guys are adapting and thriving in this. When your trainers, when you're doing a class, do they do from home too? Do they come into Momentum?
Some of them come into Momentum because they don't really have the space at home, or they don't really like the backdrop that they have at home. Yeah, so we have a couple of people coming in to run the classes. They're pretty spaced out though.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think that's working well.
Nice.
We also did a home program at the beginning of quarantine. So just like thinking that, well, we really had no idea how long this was going to last. So we created a 3-week home program that people could do, just incorporating like strength training at home and some cardio and rest days and things like that. And all the proceeds for that went to the Boys and Girls Club of Hamilton to support their programs once they launch back up.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So that's kind of all that we've done in the time through quarantine, and continuing to refine the process. One thing we've been doing with the virtual exercise classes as well is recording all of them and uploading them to our YouTube channel. And then that way people can get them on demand if they want.
Nice. Yeah. That's key.
Because we found at the beginning, some people we tried to pick class times that would be convenient for everyone, but you'll never be able to get everybody, right? So if we upload them to YouTube, now they can do a class like literally whenever they want.
Yeah. This is just for the private Facebook group?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Gotcha.
How much is like a reduction in foot traffic going to be for you? Like dropping the 5 people max in the gym for now? What would you normally have?
I think like for us, like because we cap our membership to begin with, so we're never an overcrowded gym. So we definitely have an advantage there. But when we're like rammed in here, there's probably 20 people in at once.
Okay.
Yeah. It's about like square foot wise, we have about 3,500 square feet. Yeah, there's like 5 treadmills, 3 ellipticals, 5 sets of bikes, all like regular resistance machines. There's a whole dumbbell and free weight area, stuff like that. But yeah, so small space, but everything you need for a good workout. Yeah.
Are you doing some of the virtual personal training stuff then?
I am, yeah. Actually, nice. All but 4 of my clients are doing virtual personal training right now, so that's definitely keeping me busy. The 4
That's
clients that aren't doing it are seniors that don't want to try to get involved with technology and everything like that, which I told
Sure.
them. So They do email, so I check in with them once a week on email and just try to keep them motivated to even go for walks and stuff like that. But
yeah. Do you think the virtual aspect, like either through Facebook or Zoom like this or Skype or whatever, any type of video medium, do you feel like that, I guess this is kind of probably self-explanatory and obvious, but like that actually helps to maximize the available personability that would otherwise be lost in like an exclusively online relationship that's just over text or email?
What do you mean by that? Sorry?
Like, just like you're seeing someone's face and talking to them as opposed to just interacting through like a text space, like email or phone or something.
Yeah.
You know,
definitely think the face-to-face is better.
Right.
Like through Zoom and everything like that. It just like, it's nice when you have that visual, you know?
I think so. Yeah. Well, especially because I think like the type of people that like one-on-one training and are attracted to one-on-one training are the type of people that I think are motivated by that aspect of it.
Yeah.
I think the vast majority anyway. I'm sure some would do just fine with online as well, but
yeah,
I think that market is definitely attracted to the in-person aspect specifically. So they want that human interaction socially.
Exactly. I think too, like doing it like face to face creates more accountability. Cause let's say I'm training you, Tim, and you have to do 100 burpees every day.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say 100K on the bike. I was like, oh,
I was going to.
I just started. Come on, man.
And then it made it easier with the burpees. Yeah. If I email you every week or every few days to check in, it's easy for you to ignore the email. Maybe you lie about it, or just don't tell the full truth. If we're face to face, you're more likely to be honest with me, like, hey, have you been doing 100 burpees a day? You'd be like, you know what, Ty, like I missed it 3 days, but I've been really good, I'm back on track, blah blah blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think from an accountability perspective, I think you're right. Yeah.
Ty, did you find it hard for your clients that are, so you said all but 4 are training with you virtually? Did you find it hard to get them to come around to doing virtual training, or are they pretty much like susceptible to it?
Yeah, at first, like it took about 2 weeks to start getting people going. Some people, I would say the younger people were quicker to get into it.
Right.
I think because of the technology aspect, which was good because then we could work out the kinks and figure out like what works well, what doesn't. You kind of tell clients, okay, we want the camera this far away from you, like just little things like that. And then once we started with them, then we started getting like little quick testimonials from those clients. And then we would then share it with the clients who haven't started yet, just to like, I'm like, yeah, like it is working. Like, in my opinion, like the biggest disadvantage of doing Zoom or virtual personal training versus in-person personal training is your less access to equipment, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you, I was just going to say, like the with this whole kind of like pandemic and throwing like a monkey wrench into the mix here, I think a lot of businesses and particularly small business owners are kind of forced to change on the fly, or just not do anything at all. Do you see this as like a positive or a negative, or even just indifferent to the other? Like, how do you frame this for yourself and not just yourself, but also within the context of your gym that you own?
Like the entire pandemic?
Yeah, and how it's like affecting you guys. Like, I mean, I've already seen how it's a positive, at least from one aspect, but I'm sure there's a lot of things behind the scenes that we don't see or don't know about. But as far as like like you said, like before, you didn't even offer any of these online training classes and group training classes like Pilates and yoga and all this, and now you have these things, and you're like, oh well, this is just another kind of market that we can tap into.
Absolutely. I think there's definitely pros to it, such as that, but there's definitely been cons, because even though we've pivoted to virtual, our revenues aren't like where they normally would be, right? Because we still have a lot of frozen memberships and things like that. Mm-hmm. So like I'd say all in all, I would have preferred not to have from a business standpoint. It's definitely hurt business, but there's been pros that have come out of it. And I think now after the pandemic, we'll come back stronger than we were before.
And that's what I'm thinking. That's kind of how I'm seeing it too, is like, the net positive long term may actually be better than the net positive long term without this. Even though the short term right now, like you said, it's like short term revenues right now are like a lot of people aren't meeting costs or barely meeting costs or making a little bit of money even, but nowhere near what they normally would. They could see that as like, oh no, this is lost revenue that we can never get back. But maybe in the long term, because of the changes you're forced to make, actually offset that and are actually net positive. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who knows, right? 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I don't know.
For sure. Yeah.
The models
My heart
change.
just for some of those small businesses that are really struggling or can't survive. I know there's like in town, there's been a few that have already shut down. And it just heart breaks for them, you know?
Yeah.
It's really bad. Yeah. It's funny. I did a podcast yesterday. I get interviewed by a fella, and we were talking about mental toughness, which is ironic because I'm a huge softie, but I don't know why he wanted to interview me. But we were talking about how put yourself through a stressful situation, you can adapt and learn to overcome things. So it's kind of nice that some of these businesses are maybe not thriving, but like a business like yours, Ty, where you just found a whole nother avenue of revenue. And then when the pandemic is over and it sort of goes back to normal, you're just going to be making more money. I don't think it was worth, all these businesses shutting down, of course, but I'm just forever trying to look on the bright side. But I'm just happy that you guys you've came through this and you are continuing to like kind of trying to navigate your way through it and get creative. So it's cool.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah.
Have you noticed with your, cause you've maintained also your online coaching business, right? With like nutrition coaching and stuff?
Like a little bit, but not quite. Once I like stepped away from it a tad once I took ownership of Momentum, just because I felt like I couldn't provide my clients the same level of value. And the way I had my online coaching set up before, things were pretty streamlined and systematized before. But if I took anything away from that, I feel like the whole system would kind of break down. So I just want to make sure like I'm still providing the clients that I do work with like good value.
Okay. So have you completely stepped away or do you train some people?
Not completely. Still train some people. Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that. Like, have you noticed through, a big aspect of the online coaching is the, like the support and motivation kind of factors that go along with it. Like, have you noticed that people have had their checking emails been a little bit more somber or been a little bit like, yeah, I'm just kind of figuring out what to do here. Like, I'm kind of lost. Like, because I've even noticed that with some people, including myself, where there was a bit of a learning curve at the start of all this, where I found myself actually interacting with some of my clients and being like, oh yeah, I feel the same way. No, totally. Like, I think we're trying to figure some things out here, but there's a lot of, I think, confusion, not even just confusion, but I think just people trying to figure stuff out. And I had nobody fall off, but they could tell that they were a little bit upset with themselves a little bit, where they're like, I'm off my normal schedule. Like usually I train Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I end up being Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday. Like, you know what I mean? Like a weird schedule. And they're kind of thrown off because of just thrown into this right when the restrictions started, trying to kind of figure out how they can reconcile their current schedule with this new schedule. But yeah,
for sure. Well, with all the clients and members that I've been chatting with, because we still check in on everybody every like 4 weeks minimum. I've definitely noticed there's like a spectrum. So on one hand, you have some people who have job security, their salaries haven't been affected. Maybe they don't even have to homeschool or anything like that. And they're just have more of an abundance of time kind of thing. So they're not stressed out at all. And I think like some of those people, they're rocking and rolling right now with just like their exercise routine, eating habits and things like that. And what we're trying to work on with those people is, okay, what can we do to keep this sustainable? Because when we start getting back into more of a normal routine, obviously everything that we do, we want to coach our clients to do it for the long term, right? We want longevity. Totally. But then you have the other end of the spectrum, and those people may have lost their job, or maybe they're on EI, they're making part salary, they're trying to homeschool their kids, whatever it is, and their stress load went from 0 to 100 kind of thing.
Totally. Yeah.
So with those people, it's like okay, well, what's the minimum that we could do to work towards something healthy?
And I've been taking the same approach. Very similar.
Let's just do the minimum. Like, don't worry about overextending yourself or anything like that. And for some of those people, it's just like, I want to do a 1 hour walk each day with the family. And that's
Right.
their like activity.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be their minimum kind of thing. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's definitely dependent on the person.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to ask, obviously on the whole, topic of being creative, can you give people like an idea? Let's say someone is listening to this and they go, maybe I should start working out at home, but I really don't have anything. How creative have you had to be with some of your clients? Like, have they filled a backpack full of soup cans or something? Like, can you give people some like ideas of what they can use?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've definitely done the backpack trick and filled it with cans or textbooks or anything like that. We've also done the cans and textbooks and everything without a backpack. Same with like wine bottles and laundry detergent. We've done a bag of soil with a client. So he would just hug it and do squats with that and try to do good mornings and things like that. Yeah. So yeah, definitely getting creative with what we have available. And then also just getting creative with some of the exercises too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And in terms of the training aspect, it's definitely like clients are doing I don't know if you guys saw, I did a post about lunges because I know our clients are doing a million lunges these days and all the different variations because that's going to make like a lower body workout harder than doing squats, right?
Exactly. You did that with the movement PTs, right?
Yeah.
Congrats with that. Those guys are wicked. So I didn't realize they were Hamilton based.
Yeah, their location is being built right now. I'm not sure what their ETA is on when they're going to move in, but they're like, I can't show you from here, but I can pretty much see their office from my window.
Oh, that's cool.
Sweet.
Yeah. Cool. And like, I think we share a lot of the same values and everything. And they have a really great brand going. So I'm looking forward to working with them once they get locked and loaded and done that.
Totally.
Nice. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And they're doing some cool things too, where they do these coffee meetups. I've done one so far. They did on a weekend where they just had a bunch of people Zoom in. It was a good way to connect. I met new people in the city that I didn't know before. And then I also connected with people outside the city that I didn't know. So yeah, they're doing some cool stuff.
That's cool. Wicked. Yeah, that's really wicked.
I think one of my goals for the business through quarantine is trying to get my social media game on point with theirs because I feel like their branding's pretty good. But yeah.
Well, once you hit 30,000 Instagram followers like they do, I think you'd be there.
Yeah, I only have 29,000 to go.
True. I'm 29.5, so I'm
you just gotta show your butt more, man.
Yeah.
He tried with the lunges. You should have turned the camera just a little bit, Ty.
Yeah, you need that thirsty Insta angle. You were so wholesome, like straight from the side, like a true personal trainer.
Yeah.
And your clothes weren't tight enough. Your clothes weren't tight enough, Ty. They were too loose,
Yeah.
They didn't show off your
I should have actually just had my shirt off and
and you want it behind, but also down a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the
key. And you have good lighting there and momentum. I can see it, so you could get some real nice lighting happening.
I'm gonna do an angles course from you guys. All the right angles to do, and then I'll work on it.
Well, actually, on that topic, it's a perfect segue. Unless you had something else to add there, Tim.
I was just gonna ask Ty really just like based on what you guys have been going through now, what have you maybe noticed or kind of observed, not just in yourself and your business, but maybe in other small businesses that you've noticed and you would like kind of offer advice, be like, I'm noticing this happening and I think people are dropping the ball there, or you're noticing this happening and you're like, I think that's what everyone should be doing. Have you noticed anything like that? Like,
not quite. I feel like I just feel like through this time, I think you have to figure out some way to do something online to provide clients or customers value in some way. Because otherwise I feel like you're just a sitting duck kind of thing. And as other business or similar businesses in your industry around you are pivoting and they're doing their thing, you're going to kind of get left behind a bit. So I think you have to be resourceful, and perhaps it doesn't mean you have to be online. Maybe it's different for whatever industry you're in, but just like provide clients and customers value in some way, and keep communicating with them so that you stay like top of mind. So when this is all over, they remember your brand, things like that, you know? So I would say that's one thing. And I think one thing I've noticed too is like, it is really cool to see how resilient people are when they're stressed out or their backs to the wall kind of thing. And we always talk about like with fitness and pain and rehab and things like that, like we are more resilient than we think we are. And it's just having that belief that's going to help you get through it.
Yeah. And it is pretty cool to see. I mean, it's like, there's a lot of examples of it, which is really cool, seeing people even like with our business trying to figure out ways where it's like, okay, how can we take advantage of this? And we have some plans that we've been doing where I wouldn't have necessarily been going through these current things that we're doing right now. I probably wouldn't have done it at least as quickly as we are right now, which is really good. And things that are kind of setting us up for like later this year, which is really cool. So
yeah,
I think trying to use this to our advantage, just like that, I think has been a blessing. And just like, I think just a wise move, like you said, like from a business perspective, I think making that conscious decision to pivot in some way is probably smart, not just short term, but long term.
Exactly. I think like right now with phase one being launched for business reopenings, like I think all businesses should have a game plan already in place. And if you don't have one, start getting one just so that you're ready to rock and roll once the government does give the green light. And we all obviously want to do our part to make sure there's no spike in cases and things like that. So we all have to do our part and be responsible about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well,
what I was gonna say before, it was a good pivot. Talking about angles and having your shirt off and stuff, Ty. Let's talk about the quarantine 15. This like everyone's dubbed that they've gained this quarantine 15, and it's kind of this like this joke like the freshman 15, right? And as much as I can, I'm not trying to shit talk a joke by any means, but I find it a little bit unnecessary for people to gain a lot more fat than just because they're quarantined. Because I feel like you can eat better. I get that you're bored, and I get a lot of people like are hungry bored, and they just eat because they're bored. But what have your clients gone through, I guess specifically, to try to not gain weight, or like what have you tried to do, Ty? Or do you feel like there's a spike in people being like, I'm getting fat?
I think it's a huge range right now. I mentioned like that spectrum. So we have a lot of clients that like are losing weight right now, or they're like in an awesome routine. But then we do have clients that are more stressed, things like that, and they can't do their normal routine that they're used to. And
right.
we know that like fat gain comes from consuming more calories than you burn. And I think like some people at the beginning of quarantine were moving a lot more, going for more walks, and then the weather kind of got crappier, or people kind of got in a lull with their training or whatever it is and stopped moving a bit. So I think there is a time when people might have been expending less calories. And then with being home more, you mentioned snacking. If people are stressed, they might also snack more too, right? Or maybe people are doing more takeout, even though if you do have time and you are home more, like technically there could be an opportunity to cook more meals from home, but maybe not everyone is doing that, right? So I think there's a lot of reasons why calories consumed could be going up and calories expended could be going down. And maybe that's why there is weight gain. I don't know. Like I said, with everyone at Momentum, we're just trying to look at like where they're at right now and be realistic about like what their expectations are through quarantine and coming out of quarantine. So with eating, we're trying to help people get in a habit of doing less takeout, learn some new recipes, learn how to meal prep, like things like that, and just start building some skills and habits that they can use for after quarantine. I think one thing I've done with 4 clients so far is I created a list. Well, clients actually create the list, and it's 10 things that they can do to create their perfect day.
Nice.
So it could be like going for a walk. It could be adding in a workout, like a home workout. It could be making sure there's protein at every meal. making sure they're getting their servings of fruits and veggies, like whatever it looks like, but creating that list of 10 items. And then they use that list each day, and they try to do as many of those 10 items as they can. And depending on their day, if they're like really stressed out, then our goal for them is to just knock off 1, 2, or 3 items off that list. And then if they have a good day where there's not much on the go, maybe it's a weekend or something, then they're trying to knock off 10 things on the list, like try to have the perfect day. And then that way people just kind of get in the mindset of always doing something, even if it's small, that contributes towards their health.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that idea of having a tangible list.
Yeah. And the client creates the list.
Mm-hmm.
I can help guide them through creating it, but I want the client to create it. So it's their ideas and things that they want to do that would help them create their own personal perfect day kind of thing. Right. And then, they just can look at their day the next day and be like, is it going to be a stressful day? Is it going to be an easy day or whatever it is? And just trying to knock off as many as you can.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that strategy from like a behavior change perspective. That's great. Like, I mean, going back to what Ty said about the quarantine 15 and some people finding it a larger struggle than others, our job as coaches is to be empathetic towards that and then like provide actual practical strategies to help with that. But like what Tyler kind of illuminated was like how like, even though there's an opportunity to still improve your fitness, some people aren't. And it's like, why? Yeah. Well, it just goes to show how like complicated behavior changes, like what you said with takeout. Even though the opportunity to cook at home is actually maybe easier now, I don't even know if easier is the right word, because it's clearly not easier for some people because they're ordering takeout, so it's like there's a disconnect, right?
Yeah.
But
absolutely, man. And I think the list is just so key, and it could be as simple as like one thing on the list could be have a smoothie, have a salad. I don't know, whatever it looks like. But sure. We're just trying to coach them through it. Like you said, you want to be empathetic of their situation and empower them to try to do more or be better. So if you get them some easy wins like that, it's definitely helpful for their confidence and just their mindset in general.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Well, I think on that note, there's so my personal experience right now, some of my clients have messaged me. I'll check in, once a week or as often as I can, at least once a week. And they'll go, I'm eating the same things I was when you were training me, and I haven't lost any weight or they're gaining weight. And I'll say, like what you said before, Tyler, it's just about like, you're probably not burning as many calories. Because I'll ask them, I'm like, well, you're working out 3, 4, 5 times a week like you were with me at the same intensity? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, are you more vigilant about like going for more walks? They're like, not really, right? And I'm like, because some of them are scared of coronavirus, which is fine. But I think if someone out there is listening and they go, yeah, why that's happening to me, you're taking in too many calories and not expending as much anymore. So just make sure you don't have to not eat things you like. You don't have to not eat takeout. You don't need takeout a few times a day. And if you are doing takeout, like maybe that one meal you get from the takeout could be 2 meals instead. So you eat it for dinner and then for lunch the next day or whatever. So I think it's smart that you're giving the people like, here, I'll help you. You bounce ideas off me, but like you make a list of things you think you can do. Because people typically will make things that are like easy enough that they actually want to do it and can probably accomplish it, more than like you going, hey, do this. And then they're like, I don't really want to.
Yeah. I hear so many horror stories, like when clients or members are new to Momentum and they talk about a previous trainer that say they had to do something to lose weight. And if they didn't do that, they weren't going to have success, and like almost like shame them for not doing certain things. And like, it's just not helpful, at all. And it gives the industry a bad rap.
Yep.
But yeah, Ty, I guess you have, do you have a question for Ty to wrap this up? Because I think we kind of covered all the bases.
I haven't asked this question in a while, I feel.
I know. I was just thinking that. I was like, you haven't said this in a while.
No, it's crazy. I have to remember how to word it. Ty, if there's one thing you'd want every person on this planet to know, what would it be?
Oh.
Put you on the spot, dude.
Put me on the spot.
What did he say last time?
I don't know if we had started that question yet.
Oh, maybe not.
when Ty was on for the
Would that
first
be
time,
funny
so I
if you
don't
did
know.
ask him and he answers the exact same thing and none of us realize it?
Yeah. That'd be awesome. We're like, yeah, Ty, awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Oh
Super
man.
unique and fresh.
Oh man, I have no idea what to say. I'm not very,
we hit him with it. Usually we let the guest prep, but
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not very. I never really have anything profound to say, but I'd say that no matter what you do in life, every journey begins with a single step. No matter
Nice.
how far you need to go, just got to get moving.
that's
Hell
probably
yeah.
key right now. That's pretty timely, I think, because I think a
Definitely.
lot of people have fallen off, right? I think just like you said, actually a lot of people I think are benefiting from literally just being like, I just need to go for a walk today.
Yeah,
And those are people who previously were, working out 6 days a week, pumping iron, running, all this. And it's like, that's fine. Things are different right now.
yeah,
You're not worse. You're not less. You haven't lost your fitness. You're not weaker. You're not, you know what I mean? Like you can think all these things. I think people do like to compare. I mean, I do that. Everyone does that where it's like, oh, I've done that before. I guess that means I'm not progressing because I've done that weight before. I've done that time before.
yeah.
But I think like times are different. We are different. The world is different. So I think taking what you can, like you said, it's like a lot of people are benefiting from, I think, just like you said, like take a step, any step,
Yeah,
get outside, literally take a step.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think with clients too, like it's just knowing like what expectations do you have like with your training through this and trying to make sure they're realistic about their expectations, because if they are someone who generally lifts heavier and things like that and they have access to zero equipment at home, obviously they're going to lose some progress there. But our goal is to minimize how much strength they do lose. You know what I
Right.
mean? And
Yeah.
use proper training tactics and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Nice,
like
man.
for me, it's been weird because I teach 2 virtual sessions each day. I mean, each week. So that's like 2 30-minute like high intensity body weight style workouts. And then I've also been training a semi-professional ultimate frisbee team. I didn't even know there was a such thing.
Amazing.
Well, that is niche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started training them through Zoom. So I'm jumping around for their workouts too. And then I have my own training on top of that. So I feel like I'm like in the opposite group because I've been getting more exercise than normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need to order more takeout.
Yeah.
Definitely.
More Netflix, more takeout for you. That's the
Exactly.
prescription. Doctor's orders.
Yeah.
I guess plug any of your stuff where people can reach you, find you. Yeah.
We'll talk
Yeah,
about that YouTube membership, the Facebook membership, Ty, for sure.
Yeah. So you can find us on any social media channel by going to Momentum Hamont. So MOMENTUMHAMONT. And you can find us on Facebook or Instagram. And then there's actually a link that you would need to do to purchase the online classes. So just send us a DM and then we'll be able to provide all the next steps.
Cool.
Perfect,
That's perfect.
man. Thanks for coming on again.
Appreciate it, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, definitely. I think our first episode was that we had you on. It was like really nutrition based, which I think was super helpful. So it's nice to kind of get like this one was totally a different perspective, especially with kind of what's going on in the world and stuff.
Absolutely.
As well as like things that changed in your life, just as far as like acquiring the business and stuff. So
yeah,
it's awesome to see you doing well with that and excited to take on that new responsibility. So, I mean, once we're allowed to, we should probably come see it. And go to Collective Arts because I haven't gone there yet.
We have in town, we have Collective Arts, we have Morrow Brewing, we have Fairweather, we have
Clifford.
Grit.
Is Clifford there?
Oh,
Not the one I'm thinking.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of micro breweries though, so you guys definitely got to come. We'll take you on a little tour.
I was gonna say this might turn into a crawl.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you also have Uber there, Ty? Because we're not going to drive anywhere, sir. Like, you have 4 breweries. Let's get weird, you know?
Yeah. Oh, the other day I drove around to clients' houses, dropping off like Starbucks and treats and stuff like that. And I joked around just as like a thank you for their support through this. And yeah, I felt like an Uber Eats driver. That's what I up to like 6 places.
Yeah.
That's awesome,
man.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for having me, guys. I always appreciate being on here. You guys bring a lot of great content. I love your podcast. So looking forward to next time.
Awesome.
Appreciate it, Ty. Thanks for coming on, dude. And thanks to everyone for listening to the Between Sets podcast. and we'll catch you on the next one.